Gaudy stats. Gaudy stats. Good God, that's Gaudy.
Nash reading the other way. Rollicking down the lane. Goes on. An incredible play by Steve Nash. With a 23-11 run. Williams. Nash. Oh, what a move by Nash. And kicks it up. Nash recovering, shot clock down to Curry, down to Wall, the teardrop, yes! Steve Nash! Oh, here quickly. Steve Nash, the MVP of the NBA. Triggers the rush the other way by Nash. Oh, what a pass!
You gotta make that shot after you get that kind of stuff from Steve Nash. You can't miss that one.
Dial taking his time, finds Nash, puts up a three, and got it!
110 to 102. Nash goes down, wheels in the corner, what a pass. Hill with a three. You talk about a great assist.
That was an amazing assist over his right shoulder, and then Grant hits his second three in a row.
Unbelievable run.
Here comes Nash. Oh, what a move on.
Nash goes in.
How about that pass? Steve Nash, no-look bounce feed to a slicing Grant Hill.
Never stop striving, reaching for your goals until you get there. But the truth is, even when you get there, even when you get here, standing on the stage, it's the striving, fighting, pushing yourself to the limit every day that you'll miss and you'll long for. You'll never be more alive than when you give something everything you have. Thank you.
Steve Nash, my beloved, is underrated. I really think so. I mean, I've been looking over the stats. I've been poring over the stats. I've been watching the highlights, the assist highlights. Anybody, we'll get into this, but anybody who says that Steph Curry is a better passer than Steve Nash, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't know. You got to watch the highlights. You got to go back and look at the tape. Look at those wraparound passes. Look at the behind the back, the through the legs. Okay, the full court one-handed passes. The man had upper echelon, top 1%, top 0.1% passing vision on par with, yes, Magic Johnson. I said it. Jason Kidd. Yes. Okay? And Jason Kidd, people forget that about Jason Kidd. He had incredible court vision. Like amazing. Like people who say that LeBron has the best court vision. Well, I mean, he has good court vision, but Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, different level, okay? Steph Curry, I think, is like kind of in the same ballpark as LeBron. And I admit that his incredible shooting overshadows his passing. I get that. I get it, okay? I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about Steve Nash. Oh my God. I've been watching highlights all morning. I watched the last couple of weeks. I've just been going back because it had been a while since, first of all, this pod is about 2 years late. I understand, like 5 years, whatever, however many years. Okay, I get it. I know. I don't care. Okay? It's here now. And, man, I've been watching highlights. I just forgot the clutchness. I forgot the shooting ability. One of the greatest all-time shooters. I said it. I mean, have you forgotten the percentages? How many point guards shoot 50% from the field and 40% from three? 40+%. Steph Curry? And we'll get in. But okay, so first, okay, this is Gaudy stats. This is all about the stats. This is all about the numbers, okay, the math, okay. First, we're gonna get into a lot of stuff, but first, I want to touch on the gaudiest of all gaudy stats for Steve Nash: the 50, 40, 90 seasons. Okay, who do you think is the all-time leader in 50, 40, 90 seasons? It's Steve Nash. It's Steve Nash. 50% shooting from the field, 90% shooting from the free throw line, and 40% shooting from three. All right? Now, yeah, I know, okay? I know. Malcolm Brogdon just got a 50, 40, 90 season. I get it. Larry Bird had 2 of those seasons, though. Okay? My point, okay? Mark Price had a season. Reggie Miller, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, and yes, Malcolm Brogdon. I know, but Steve Nash had 4 such seasons, okay? Larry Bird had 2, and everybody else had 1. Point guards do not shoot like Steve Nash, except for Steph Curry. Except for Steph Curry is going to be the answer to a lot of these rhetorical questions and a lot of these statements that I make. Because in terms of shooting, he's the best of the best. I mean, I did a podcast many moons ago talking about Steph Curry. But, for a long time there was this like debate between, who's the best point guard? Steve Nash or Chris Paul. That for as long as I can remember, that was the debate. If you're going to look at the shooting, it's Steve Nash, and it's not close, man. Steve Nash is a career 49% shooter from the field. And I want to emphasize something. That is like unheard of. Like, point guards don't shoot that well. They don't like he was 50% for a lot of his seasons. We're going to go season by season, but Chris Paul was 46.9% from the field. Okay, so that's not that much lower, but still, it's significant. It's significant. Okay, now if you want to talk about 3-point shooting, it's that once again, it's. I mean, Chris Paul is a good 3-point shooter. He's good. Steve Nash is great. Chris Paul was a 37% career 3-point shooter. Steve Nash is a 42.8% 3-point shooter. I thought it was 43. I wanted to check. 42.8%. That ranks 10th all time in 3-point shooting percentage. In the top 10, I would say like Drazen Petrovic. He was a kind of a high volume shooter. So he's 43.7%. You got Steve Novak, all time great. 43%. You got Seth Curry's high up there now. That's interesting. Stephen Curry, 43.6%. So there's 3 kind of high volume 3-point shooters in there. And you also have Kyle Korver in there too, but he wasn't like a number 1 option. But you got Stephen Curry, Drazen Petrovic, and Steve Nash. So I give extra points for guys who shoot a lot of threes and make a lot of threes. All right? And Buddy Hield is inching up there too, man. I tell you. Klay Thompson. We've done the whole 3-point shooting thing. But in terms of like toughness, defense, at least for defensively, it's Chris Paul, not even close. So a lot of people, that was like case closed. And I think it still is. It's kind of a debate, but I'm definitely going to choose Steve Nash because he was an otherworldly passer. Chris Paul was a great passer as well. But Steve Nash is like creme de la creme passer. He's like the top of the line. Magic Johnson, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Tiny Archibald. I'm leaving out some great passers. I get it. I know. He's up there, man. If you don't believe me, go look at the highlights. Go watch the games. Like, it's like Russell Westbrook. Speaking of a point guard who can't shoot, the inefficiency of Russell Westbrook, the efficiency of Steve Nash, it's not even close. Like, think about if Steve Nash was on the Thunder right now, okay, with Paul George. See, the problem is they don't have any shooters. But he would still be very effective. But Steve Nash, with any great point guard, you need to have people to make the shots. But what he did was he elevated not great shooters into being good shooters. Quentin Richardson, he made Quentin Richardson all sorts of money. He made a lot of people money who hadn't really proven that they could shoot until they came to play with him. Why? Because he got them wide open looks. Okay? He delivered the ball right in their bread basket. Okay? He put the bread right in their basket, and they ate it. Oh man, I've been watching those old Suns team, like Channing Frye. All those 3-point shooters, all those amazing kickouts, and like he would just collapse the defense, get right into the meat, the core of the defense. Okay, he'd pierce it and then kick it out. You'd have guys just lining up all over the 3-point line. It was a lot like basketball today, except the problem was he could also shoot. So offensively, he was a juggernaut. Now defensively, I mean, it's been well documented. He wasn't great. He tried hard, but the thing was, a lot of those teams was, we're just going to blow you off the court with that 7 seconds or less. And they did that a lot of the time. 2010, it was this ragtag group. Channing Frye, Grant Hill, Jason Richardson, Amari, Raja Bell, and Steve Nash. And the fact that he can shoot creates all this space. It's the same thing going on with Steph Curry, but I will say this, is that Steve milked that, he milked that 3-point shot, but he also milked the mid-range more than Steph does. I gotta stop for a second because my mind is going in all these different directions, okay? I was talking about 50, 40, 90, then I'm going to 3-point percentage. All the Steve Nash love is coming back all at once for me. I've kind of taken a little break from it, but now it's all coming back. Okay? Really fast. It's 50, 40, 90 seasons. 2005, 2006. 51% from the field. 44% from three. Okay? On 342 attempts. Think if he was playing now. I think I just blew your mind. 92% from the free throw line. His free throw shooting was impeccable. God, I'm such a Steve Nash lover. This is getting ridiculous. I'm just gushing, spraying all over my computer with this Steve Nash love. So much gushing. 2007, 2008. Well, really fast. I'm gonna go backwards. No, actually, this was a year. Okay, 2007, 2008, 50% from the field, 50.4%. He barely got in there. 47% from three on 381 attempts. It's unreal for a point guard. I mean, that's just like one of the best 3-point shooting seasons ever. I just looked up the best 3-point shooting seasons of all time. And it's a great season, but there are some incredible percentages here. That season I just talked about, it ranks 34th. But once again, and God, Kyle Korver is all over this list. He leads his 2009-2010 season 53.6%. Unreal. Steve Kerr is also sprinkled about. But a lot of these guys are just specialists. Once again, they're not high-volume shooters, except for Joe Johnson, 47.8. Detlef Schrempf, 47.8. Joe Johnson, 2004-2005. And Schrempf, 86-87. He's an underrated shooter. They didn't do it their whole careers, though, unfortunately. J.J. Redick on there. Joe Harris this past season, 47.4. It's been some great seasons. But anyways, for a point guard who has the ball in his hands all the time and shooting a lot, like Steve Nash did. Although he was very efficient, he didn't shoot as much as Steph Curry, not even close. But he shot, especially late in games, those dagger threes that just broke teams' hearts and backs and minds. I'm a Steve Nash homer. Is that a thing? If you're a homer for a person, a stan? I'm a Steve Nash stan. Incredible performances that year. He also shot 91% from the free throw line. This is 2007, 2008. And he got the following season, 2008, 2009, he also had a 50, 40, 90 season. So back-to-back 50, 40, 90 seasons. Which is crazy. It's just absolutely nuts. 50% from the field, 43.9 from the three-point line, and 93% from the free throw line. Now, around this time, there were a lot of haters out there. A lot of haters. You know, he was getting those MVPs, racking them up, getting those trophies. Went to a party in Indiana, and you know, it was kind of an older crowd, a lot of old, like, you know, people in their 50s and 40s. It's a long story while I was there, but I remember there was this, you know, I think the Suns were playing in the playoffs or something. It was summertime. The Suns would regularly go to the playoffs back then. Had a great squad. Now they're shit. They're dog feces on the side of the road. They're embarrassing. They're an embarrassment. They're a league-wide embarrassment, a dumpster fire. They've hitched their wagon to a stat-loving gunner, Devin Booker. I don't hate him. I used to like him more, but I'm worried that they gave him so much money and they didn't draft the donkey Doncic. They should have. I think that was a mistake. Even though I'm not as high on him as a lot of people are, like my friend Dan loves him. I like him. I don't love him. Anyways, so everyone was there watching Steve. There's this guy there. I'll never forget it. He's kind of short in stature, probably like about 5 feet tall. He looked kind of like a goblin or something. Like he had the ears, kind of like a troll, some sort of like fairy tale creature. Kind of a disgusting person in a lot of ways. You know, just portly, overweight, obese, morbidly perhaps. God, I'm really painting quite a picture of this man, this disgusting creature. He's a filthy individual, just disgusting, just smelled of cheap hot dog water and mustard and bean juice. Just filth. Just a slob. And if you think I'm being too harsh, I am. All right? But we're watching the game, and he goes, I tell you, that's Steve Nash. He got that long hair and he's blowing, and he looks like a hippie, that Steve. I tell you what, I don't like him one bit. I don't like that Steve Nash. He looks like a hippie with his long hair blowing. I don't like him. I don't like him. Let me tell you something. If it wasn't that he was a friend of the person who's having the party that I was a friend with, okay, I would have taken a 2x4, and you know what I would have done with it. I would have taken it and put it together with other 2x4s, built him a little doghouse in the backyard, and I would have taken his face and his body and just thrown him in there. Okay, and throw him like a scrap of bread or some leftover nachos and leave him in there for a week and make him think about what he said about Steve. All right? No, I'm joking, of course. I would never do something like that. But that was kind of the sentiment in certain circles. Like, look at this guy. He looks like he's leading a a 1990s alternative rock band. He's got the long hair. He looks like he smells bad. He looks like a hippie. He looks like he smokes weed all the time. He might. He looks like a son of a bitch. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And it's not fair because he's kicking ass and he's getting MVPs. And he's just a disheveled mess who smells bad and is a hairy bastard. This isn't fair. Why does he keep throwing up these amazing stats? Why does he keep winning MVPs? Why does he keep raining threes on everyone's faces? Why do he keep throwing daggers in people's faces with threes and jump shots and amazing teardrops and amazing layups and like reverse layups and incredible behind the back passes and through the leg passes and passes that you scratch your head and it's like, well, how did he even see the guy behind him? Those amazing handoffs with Amari Stoudemire. Oh my God, feeding Grant Hill, those alley-oops. Oh, Raja Bell in the corner, bam. Quentin Richardson on the right hash, bam. Sean Marion coming in for an alley-oop. Hoo. There was a lot of anger, all right? And there was a lot of jealousy. But that's okay. I mean, that's what happens. He was a phenomenon. People don't understand that. He was a basketball phenomenon. He was taking the league by storm. And people are going to say, well, it was all because of Mike D'Antoni. Look what happened to Jeremy Lin. Huh? Linsanity. Same thing with Steve. If it wasn't for Mike D'Antoni, he wouldn't be even close to what he was. You can say that about any player, a lot of players. Yes, I mean, to a certain extent, Steve Nash was a system player. That 7 seconds or less offense definitely helped him orchestrate the way he did. Yeah, you can say he's like Linsanity. A decade of Linsanity. A decade. And before he even went to Phoenix, he played for Don Nelson. Another spread out, fast-paced, up and down the court, shooting a lot of threes, easy baskets, offense. I know. And by the way, he was a better scorer, some might think, some might say, with those Mavs teams. But he still shot a great percentage. Okay, he didn't have as many assist opportunities. He didn't have the ball in his hands all the time. But he was clearly, even when he first played in Phoenix, with Jason Kidd and fucking Kevin Johnson, he was showing flashes. I was looking at some really old highlights from like 93. He was doing these behind the back passes, court vision, finding guys. All right, so you get your facts straight, and look at the clips online. Look at the clips online. I'm like 85 years old. Look online. Go on YouTube, okay, and find the highlights and watch them all. Spend 100 days straight watching Steve Nash, all the Steve Nash clips on YouTube. There's days and days of them. Watch them, then get back to me. Okay? I'm just tired of the haters. I'm tired of the haters and the people who underrate this man. This man was a transcendent passer and shooter, okay? He was underrated at the time. Even when he was winning those MVPs, people did not realize what they were watching, did not realize what they're witnessing. Now that he's gone, he's fading away. It's all Steph Curry. Oh, I love Steph Curry. And he's the best shooter of all time. We've been through it. The statistics show that. The volume and the percentage, unreal. Klay Thompson's not too bad either. And KD. They got Klay Thompson, KD, and Steph. That's the shooting. That threesome, the shooting of that threesome. There might not have ever been another threesome that could shoot that well. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Unless you're talking about Joe Johnson, Kyle Korver. No, I'm joking. No. They were great shooters too, but I'm not going to get into no. They're not on the same level. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, best shooting backcourt of all time. And then KD comes in, mid-range assassin. In these current playoffs, 2018-2019 playoffs, KD is on another level in terms of shooting right now. Unreal. Anyways, let's get into the season-by-season breakdown of Steve Nash. You know, his his counting stats don't necessarily jump off the page when you look at his career. So you look at like his complete output, like Steve Nash's career output. Okay, it's not something that bounces off the page, and that's partially because of his stupid LA Laker years, and we're gonna get into that because I got a little bone to pick with Mr. Steve Nash about that. Like, why in the did you go to the Lakers? I'm trying not to curse as much, but it's gonna come out because I get angry sometimes when I think about what he did to his legacy and his career with that move to the Lakers. He cursed himself. But anyways, we'll get into that, okay? Because he went down a couple notches. I know I'm one of the biggest Steve Nash fans you can find, but he went down a couple notches when he went to the Lakers. Okay, you can't. I mean, facts are facts. He did that. That's a fact. He went to his the rival LA Lakers, who he battled year after year in the playoffs, all those battles with Kobe Bryant, all those wars. I shouldn't be using this kind of terminology in basketball, but they went at it. Okay? He hated Kobe. Kobe wanted Raja Bell to come to the Lakers. Raja Bell thought about it for a day, and then he took out his hand and he brandished a middle finger. He unsheathed it and showed it to Kobe and said, "Go fuck yourself, Kobe." All right? You son of a bitch. And that's what I would have said too, because Kobe, see, my hate's coming out. I'm not a Kobe fan. I'm not. You might have already known that. You might have already known that? Is that proper English? You might have already knew that. Is that proper English? Can I, this is my native language. Why can't I speak it correctly? It's a question it could take a long time answering. But no, I mean, anyways, Jesus Christ, I'm getting so off base here. So his career stats, 14.3 points, 8.5 assists, bolstered during his time in Phoenix, the second round, and 3 rebounds a game, 0.7 steals. He was a career 49% shooter, as we talked about, from the field, and 42.8 from 3 on 3.2 attempts a game. And get this, folks. This is an unreal stat. 51.8% on twos for a point guard. That's getting into like power forward, center percentages right there. For a guy who shot primarily from outside the foul line. I mean, he shot layups, but he was shooting a lot of mid-rangers, a lot of three-pointers. For instance, let's look at his like attempts. So he shot 10.6 attempts for his entire career. Okay, that's what he averaged, and he made 5.2. Okay, out of those 10.6 attempts, 3.2 were from 3. So roughly a third, a little bit less perhaps, a third of his attempts were from 3. And the other, 7.4 were from 2. So that's incredible. 51.8% from 2. Man. Effective field goal percentage of 55.6%. He's a career 90.4% free throw shooter. The man almost averaged a 50-40-90 for his career. Yeah, I know. Insane. If he'd only had just gotten up to 50, you know what? He totally effed himself. Nah, there wasn't enough. I was going to say he effed himself by going to LA. He brought that down, but he actually shot pretty well in his first year in LA. We'll get into that. His second year, not well at all, because his back was like crumbling, like the dust in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. The snap finger. God, tangent city. So if he had just gotten that 49% up to 50, he would average 50, 40, 90 for his career. I'm just going to give it to him. I'm going to round up, man. 49%. Let's say 50%. I'm just going to give it to him. Man. Back on track. Okay, so when he first enters the league in 96, 97, earlier I was saying he was in the league in 93. I was totally wrong about that. I don't know where the hell I got that from. Wow. 96, 97, he's 22 years old. He's kind of old these days to enter the league. But he was a scrub. He was a bench player. He was playing behind Jason Kidd, Kevin Johnson. I mean, he's not going to see the court. He's just going to soak up their knowledge, which in the end, he ended up having more than both of them combined. No, I'm joking. Jason Kidd deserves his own podcast. He will get one. He was amazing. I was a huge Jason Kidd fan back in the day. Questionable human being, amazing basketball player. Steve Nash is not a questionable human being, except for that trip to LA. But great guy and also great basketball player. All right, we'll skip through some of these early seasons. So first year in Phoenix, he averaged 3.3 points a game, 2 assists. Second, and that was in 10 minutes a game. 21 minutes a game in 97, 98. 9 points, 3.4 assists. Okay? Not bad. He shot 41.8% from three in that first year, rookie year. That's amazing for a rookie to shoot that. Only on 0.8 attempts, but still. 41.5 his next year. Then 37.4 from three. That was the first year in Dallas. So now we're in Dallas. 98, 99. Okay, I believe that was a lockout shortened season. Shortened season. 7.9 points a game. Are you enjoying this? Me just going and reading the stats line by line? You are? You love it? Well, I can't disappoint you in that case. So he's shooting. Let's just focus on the threes for a second. 40.3% from three. Listen, folks. There were only 4 seasons where he did not shoot 40% from three or above. Can you just... 4 seasons, man. Out of 18 seasons. Can you realize? Do you realize? In 3 of those seasons, he shot 37.4, 39.5, and 39%, which are all good, like great. You can even say those are great 3-point shooting seasons. But the 40%, I would say 40% is great. Okay, so those are very good. So 4 out of 18 seasons, he shot over 40%. That's incredible for a point guard. It's unreal, man. Unfucking real. Anyways, he kind of broke out 2001 in Dallas. Okay, he's playing 34.1 points minutes a game. Okay, and he shot 40.6% from three and 48.7% from the field, which is very good for a point guard. It's not the insane levels he gets to later, but still very, very good. 15.6 points per game, 7.3 assists. Okay, so he continues on these kind of stat lines for the remainder of the time he spends in Dallas. Next year, 17.9 points, 7.7 assists, then 17.7 points and 7.3 assists, then 14.5 points, 8.8 assists in his last year in Dallas. And he shot over 40% all those years in Dallas. Every single effing year, man. Well, except for the first year. It was 37.4 the first year. I mentioned that. But that next year, he had 45.5% from three, which is one of his all-time great percentage. That was in 2001, 2002. Oh, he got hurt in Dallas. He hurt his back. You probably have heard about it. There's a whole that whole issue about whether they should pay him or not. Cuban decided not to pay him, and he regrets it. In fact, I have a story about him, and this is completely true. My friend McKeet can back this up. We were at the Bluebird bar in Bloomington, Indiana. Cuban shows up with an entourage, a large entourage, hangers on, and I think some college kids were just like tagging along in his limo or something. And I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to introduce myself. I cannot remember exactly what I said to the guy. Okay? But I walked up to him. He's a large man in person. He's a formidable presence. I shook his hand and I said something like, nice to meet you. I'm a huge Steve Nash fan. And then I can't remember exactly what he said to me, but his face contorted into this angry ball. And by the way, Mark Cuban is he went to school at IU. That's why he came back. He went to school at Indiana University in Bloomington. That's why he was even there. I should have led with that. Anyways, his face was contorted, and he said, I can't remember exactly what he said. I wish I could remember. He was like, why don't you go fuck yourself? He dropped an F-bomb. He's like, why don't you go fuck yourself? Something like that. And then his friend stepped in and got in between us. And you could tell, like, right when he said it, Cuban, he looked kind of sad, and he looked kind of like regretted saying that. Like he kind of lost his temper for a second. And sure enough, his friend was talking to me, and I was just saying, like, I'm just a big I just like Steve Nash. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Cuban came over and actually apologized to me. Now, this is a completely true story. You can ask my friend Matthew McCourt. He was there with me at my side during this whole process. And he said he was sorry, Cuban did. But he regretted losing him, even though, the Dallas teams, after they lost Steve Nash, were excellent. They were. I mean, I can't deny that. I mean, it's the truth. So when he left Dallas after the 2003-04 season, he goes to Phoenix. 2004-2005. He has his first MVP season. Now, a lot of people think that was like his first All-Star. Like he was a nobody before that. We've just been over that. That's not true. He had some 17.9 points a game one year, 17.7. He was getting points. He was having good shooting seasons. He was doing his thing. He was part of like a resurgent. I don't think these words don't match the situation, but they're up and coming, fun, talented Dallas team was kicking butt. Remember that one year when they got in the playoffs, deep into the playoffs, and then Steve Kerr comes off the bench for the Spurs? I remember I was in a friend's basement. We were watching that, and Steve Kerr just like had the craziest stretch of shooting I've ever seen. In fact, I'm going to look that up. Steve Kerr's shooting spree, Furs Maz. It was a 42-15 run by the Spurs in that game. Oh my God. I can't remember. I cannot believe that. He checked in with 3 minutes and 44 seconds left in the period when the Spurs trailed by 15 points. The American Airlines Center was reverberating with noise. So the Mavericks were kicking their butt. Game 7. Okay, this was in a Game 7. San Antonio was down by 15 with 3 minutes and 44 seconds to go. Steve Kerr comes out. The motherfucker had 12 points in 13 minutes. 4 threes. Just crushed their season. Crazy. Like that guy was just lights out. The greatest 3-point shooter of all time, and according to percentage, I don't think he was. I think Steph Curry is. But he is, in terms of being a sharpshooter, a sniper, he is the greatest, Steve Kerr. He can shoot like nobody. Well, like some people, but it's qualifiers with everything. Anyways, unreal. So there's, that was in 2003. That was like I think that was the year before he left. No, he was still there the next year. They were still like the year after that. So he comes to Phoenix, and the rest is history. 7 seconds or less. He has his first of many 50% shooting seasons. So that was a first of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons in a row. Then he had a 49% shooting season, then a 53.2% shooting season, then a 49.7, and then a 38.3 with those goddamn Lakers. Growling at the mic. Just angers me. Still, what a tool. Why did he do that? Why? 15.5 points and 11.5 assists. 52.6 from 2 that year. 43.1% from 3. So, you know what? I'm just going to talk about this stretch in Phoenix, kind of lump this all together. You know, he had let's see, assists. So I said 11.5, 10.5, 11.6, 11.1. A lot of these years he led the league. I think those first 3 years he led the league in assists. 9.7. That was that year that Shaq showed up. Terry Porter was the coach for a while. What a effing disaster that was, man. You could just tell that was going to be bad. And Terry Porter, who wanted to play lots of, hard-nosed defense, which is great, but he wanted to cut the knees off the offense for some reason, which was fucking stupid. Sorry, but okay. Then so when he left, and he's back up to 11 assists a game, then 11.4, then 10.7. Then they drop off a cliff when he goes to LA. And he was 37 years old playing for Phoenix in the 2011-2012 season. I mean, his numbers are dipping slightly. He was playing less minutes, 31.6 minutes a game, which is his lowest in the last 10 years of his career, ever since 99-2000. But he still put up 12.5 points and 10.7 assists, And his points, his second year in Phoenix, 8.8, then 8.6. 18.8, 18.6. 16.9, 15.7, 16.5, 14.7, and then that 12.5 season I just mentioned. So, let's just do a little, let's look at his years in Phoenix. So that nice little stretch. Those years in Phoenix, he averaged 16.3 points, 10.9 assists, 54.2% from 2, 43.7 from 3, and he shot 51% from the field, and he shot 91.2% from the free throw line. So, folks, he averaged 50, 40, 90 during his entire run in Phoenix with 16.3 points and 10.9 assists, 33.9 minutes a game. 50, 40, 90 during that two-time MVP season in Phoenix. He hit MVP in 2004 and 2005 and 2005-2006. Back-to-back MVPs. Steve Nash. That's unreal. That's something I actually didn't realize, that he was 50, 40, 90 during his entire run in Phoenix. That MVP run he had. It's kind of crazy, man. It's kind of unreal. Man. Sorry, my mind's kind of blown right now. Effective field goal percentage, 57.7%. What? You effing kidding me? God. 1, 2, 3. So how many seasons was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 seasons. He was 50, 40, 90 through 8 seasons? What? Oh my God. Let's look at his stats when he was a full-time starter. All the years he was a full-time starter. So all the years that he averaged over 30 minutes a game just under 50% shooting, 49.8%, but he was 50-40-90, almost 50-40-90. That is a damn, those damn seasons. I see he shot, in one season in Dallas, he shot 46.5% from the field in 2002, 2003. So that brought it all down, sadly. If it wasn't for that season, he would have gotten it. But, I mean, come on, 49.8% from the field. That's it. I mean, that's 0.2% away from 50. I'm going to give it to him. So as a full-time starter, he was 50-40-90 basically. And this whole time in Phoenix, he was 50-40-90. Are you kidding me, man? Are you freaking kidding me? Give this man his due. For God's sake. But now we got to get to, and by the way, let's quickly look at his playoff. His playoff numbers are pretty fun to look at too, because they pop like crazy, especially in Phoenix. So his time in Dallas, okay, his playoff numbers were 15.9 points, 7.5 assists, 90% from the free throw line, only 43% from the field, 44.9% from the three. So he shot amazingly from the three in the playoffs, not as great from the field. Only a 50% effective field goal percentage. Ouch. 42% from two. So he shot better from three than two when he was with Dallas in the playoffs. When he was with Phoenix, his numbers just popped. I mean, this first year in Phoenix, they play 15 games in the playoffs. 23.9 points, 11.3 assists, and 38.9 from three, 52% from the field. So great numbers, 11 assists, then 10 assists, then 13. This is his playoff numbers. He had some great, man, he was a great performer in the playoffs. In career in the playoffs, he shot 40% from three, 40.6%. I kind of like blinked out there for a second. How long have I been talking about these playoff stats? And I feel like this is just nothing but numbers. I mean, I think anyone who's listening to this podcast is probably stopped by now. That's fine. He averaged 13.3 assists a game in the 2006-2007 playoffs. His later seasons, man, God, it's too bad how he went out, man. It really is, because let's just fast forward ahead to what happened in LA, because it's been, the specter of that era has been hanging over this whole podcast, and I got to address it. I think it was a huge mistake. Bad vibes, bad karma, bad juju, whatever you want to say. They've been battling that Lakers squad year after year in the playoffs, usually beating them because it was just Kobe and Smush Parker and Derek Fisher and like these horrible post-Shaq Lakers teams before they got Gasol, and they sucked. But they still, there's still tough outs. Some epic battles though, and like a lot of highly charged games. Kobe talking shit, and then Nash goes to LA. He gets a haircut. He gets a side part haircut, puts a bunch of gel on his fucking hair. God, I sound like some bumpkin who's like talking about like city slickers or something. But no, man, he went Hollywood, and he's I don't know. On the surface, yeah, Kobe and Dwight Howard teaming up with them. Okay, two stars, but how do they fit into Steve's game? Kobe needs the ball a lot. He's a volume shooter. Some would even say a chucker. Some would say a fucking black hole at times on the court. Dwight Howard is a man that was always best when he was rim running getting dunks, blocking shots, getting lots of rebounds, playing great defense, but he made it very clear that he wanted to be a back to the basket type of player. And let's be completely real here. Dwight Howard was never an Amari type. He was never like a pick and pop guy. And speaking of Amari, Steve, I don't want to say made Amari's career, but he elevated Amari into a possible Hall of Famer. And to be fair, Amari made Steve look great too. I mean, he was a great finisher, great underrated mid-range jump shot maker, Amari Stoudemire. An amazing player, had crazy numbers when he played with Steve. 26 points a game, 20 points a game, 25, 21, 23, 25. That last year was in New York. The first year he was in New York, he averaged 25 a game. His last year in Phoenix, 23 points a game. So, that's a conversation for another pod. But Amari and Steve were a match made in heaven. What the fuck was I even talking about? Oh yeah, I was insulting Dwight Howard by saying that he's not even close to Amari, and it's true, he's not. Amari was as I said, like he was a really underrated jump shooter. Like he was money from around the free throw line, a little bit outside the free throw line, the baseline. So many like he was just automatic from there, and he actually started to extend his range a little bit farther out even, but that was a great 1-2 punch. Steve and Amari, like they were incredible twosome. But Dwight Howard was never going to be that guy, man. Even at the time, people had fit questions. Like people were like, "Well, this team's going to be good." Some people even said the team was going to be great. A lot of people did, but the fit questions were real. And the first coach, I think that Mike Brown was the coach, not an offensive mastermind, and not somebody who he didn't want to do like a 7 seconds or less type, like turn Kobe into like a Jason Richardson type, who was just kind of like getting fed by Steve and occasionally doing his own thing. Like this wasn't going to be a Kevin Durant with the Warriors type situation where Kevin Durant was going to play within the offense, but also like create his own shit as well. That was a compromise Kobe wasn't going to make, and he never made it. After Shaq left, he was basically like, I'm going to take 25, 30 shots a game. That's a little harsh. I mean, he didn't take that many a game all the time, but he would take a lot of shots, and he didn't always shoot a great percentage, and he didn't always get his teammates involved, and it took Pau Gasol, who, I want to talk about another underrated guy. You know what? He deserves his own pod at some point. Every single basketball player in NBA history will get their own pod at some point. If it takes me being 95 years old and recording them, I will do it. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, I just think the whole move was doomed. It was cursed. He spit in the eye of the basketball gods. He took that money, which I don't blame him for doing that. He could have gotten that money in other places, though. I could see why he might want to leave Phoenix, even though even that kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm a fan, so that's why it did. But his numbers fall off a cliff. In his first year, he actually was shooting well. I remember he was becoming like almost like a Kyle Korver type. He was, shooting off screens, and he was doing great at it, which is kind of cool if you think about it. I mean, he shot 50% from the three. 50% from the field. He only played 50 games, so he was hurt a lot of the time, which was unfortunate. But that was nothing compared to how badly he was hurt the following year. I mean, he only played 15 games, 20 minutes a game. But he shot 43.8% from the three his first year in LA. Shot 49.7% from the field, as I said, and 92 from the free throw line. So he was almost 50-40-90 in his first season in LA. He scored 12.7 points a game. And he had 6.7 assists. So he was playing all right. I mean, it's just that he wasn't the dynamo that he was before. And he has to have the ball in his hands at all times. not at all times, but he has to orchestrate the offense to achieve maximum efficiency, and they weren't going to do that. I mean, it was Kobe's team. He went to L.A., for God's sake. And he still lives in L.A., and, he's an L.A. guy now, and more power to him. But fuck the Lakers, first of all. And it just had bad mojo, man. It was a cursed move. He could have gone back. At the time, Toronto offered him the longest and most lucrative contract. He turned that down. I can understand him not wanting to go play in Canada. All these people surrounding him. Like, there's a lot. If he fails in Canada, that's huge. I mean, and he was at the end of his career. Like, he was probably going to fail in Canada. I mean, he might have put up better numbers and been a better player than he was in LA, but he was getting old. I mean, he was pretty long in the tooth at that point. When he left Phoenix the first year in LA, the dude was 38 years old, man. That's pretty old. And then when his last season in LA, I think he tried to come back the next year, but he hurt his back trying to lift up a suitcase or something. Like, seriously, he broke it. He hurt his back, and he didn't break his back, but he hurt his back trying to lift a suitcase up. So that ended his career, which was pathetic and sad. But his last year in the NBA, he was 39. 2013, 2014. So yeah. Man, that ended really sadly, huh? Ended on a bummer note. But shit. Even with those last seasons in LA, still an amazing player. Still had such a long career, 18 years, and he went to all 4 years of college. He's a guy that, one of the reasons why the Mavs didn't sign him is because of his back issues, and it's plagued him throughout his career. He was always lying on the side of the court. That was something you could expect to see if you saw a Suns game. You got used to it. Steve lying there with a towel underneath his head. But he managed that injury so well. I mean, so efficient. He didn't get injured very often. He played a lot of games, in those years in Phoenix. I mean, check this out. It's kind of crazy. Okay, let's just look at those years in Phoenix really fast, because he was a steady performer. I mean, first of all, let's look at Dallas. Okay, so when he became a full-time starter, 70 games, 82 games, 82 games, 78. Okay, that's in Dallas. Now in Phoenix, let's see. Well, fuck, they're not going to give me the average games a year. But 75, 79, 76, 81, 74, 81, 75, 62. So that last year he got hurt quite a few times. But that's pretty damn good for a man who, that was when he got to Phoenix, he had the back injury. And he played all those games. Besides that last season, he played no fewer than 74 games in a season, which is damn good, man. I mean, he was in his 30s. He was 30 when he got to Phoenix, and he left when he's 37. So, that's usually when players are winding down, and he was, had his best years ever for the most part during those years in terms of assists and points together and shooting. So his legacy is that of one of the greatest shooters of all time, one of the greatest point guard shooters of all time, one of the greatest, the 10th greatest three-point shooter of all time in terms of percentage. I would say he's higher when you factor in the volume of shots he took and the fact that he was the orchestrator, the number one option a lot of the time. Some would say Amari was the number one option a lot of the time. Dirk was, but the man had the ball in his hands a lot, and he shot the ball a good amount. He was efficient when he did shoot. One of the greatest free throw shooters of all time. Talk about a sexy stat. A great assist man. Multiple 20-20 games. Not a 20-20-20 game like Russell Westbrook, but some might say he wasn't trying to pad his stats as much as Russell. No, actually, I think that's not true, because he did pad his stats a little bit, but that's okay. We love that. We love the stats, okay? He doesn't have assist numbers like John Stockton or even some of those Magic Johnson years, but his assist numbers are substantial. We talked about the fact that he averaged a 50, 40, 90 during his entire time in Phoenix, which is unreal. 16 points and 10.9 assists during that time. He had the most 50, 40, 90 seasons of all time, which is freaking crazy if you think about it. Just one of the greatest passers you'll ever see. So creative. As I said, top shelf court vision. Some of the best court vision you can pay money to see. One of the greatest passers of all time. He will go down as one of the greatest passers of all time. Okay? So creative, as I said. Just a unique player. Great shooting. Like a super efficient shooting combined with incredible passing. Great leader. In the 50, 40, 90 seasons, just puts him on the top of that point guard Mount Rushmore. A lot of people are saying Magic Johnson is number one. Then they'll say Oscar Robinson, John Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Jerry West. Although I would say Jerry West is almost like a shooting guard in a lot of ways because of his scoring. And they say Jason Kidd, then Steph Curry, who will probably be elevated up into the upper echelon, and then Steve Nash, Chris Paul, Bob Cousy. But man, I don't know, man, because I think Steve could have averaged more points. He was unselfish. He got everybody involved. Team basketball orchestrated by one man, if that makes any sense. Like the passing was infectious on those teams. It was so much fun to watch. Boris Diaw was in there passing. Man, I'm going to go back right now. I'm going to look at some old Suns highlights. Reminisce. All those afternoons and evenings spent watching that man play basketball. What a joy. That's all, folks. I'm going to go make myself a nice little afternoon omelet. Get some leftovers. I'm just going to throw in the skillet. Some noodles. Chicken, throw it on there, pour some eggs over that. Are you disgusted? I don't give a fuck. That's the kind of food I eat. Just get some fucking avocado and smash that shit with some lime. Throw that on there. Some salsa. No, I'm not doing salsa. That's kind of weird. Mixing like curry noodles with salsa. It's not that weird if you think about it. But I'm not going to do that. Just the avocado, some hot sauce. I'm going to grub it up, okay, because I'm hungry now. I actually ate before the podcast this time, but now I'm getting hungry again. Fuck, dude. Steve Nash. One for the ages. See you.